Welcome to At a Crossroads with a Naked Podcaster, where we bear it all emotionally and spiritually. This podcast is designed to support and uplift you as a Christian. I'm your host, Jen Taylor from momof18.com. Each week on the podcast, I'll bring you an inspiring message to support you in designing and creating a vibrant, fulfilling life. Before we dive in, please visit all of the links in the communities, as this is a live broadcast. Feel free to ask questions I can answer during the podcast. At Crossroads with the Naked Podcasters, for Christians who know that there is more to life and that our true, authentic souls are built for greatness. You are built with strength and love that is meant to shine through during times of conflict and celebration. Welcome. I can't wait to bear it all with you. In my business as a coach for Christian women, I help them to step into who they are meant to be and be inspired by their purpose and God-given gifts. Follow the links to sign up for my free training on how you as a Christian can begin to design the life that's meant for you. Reach out to me at any time on momof18.com. To At a Crossroads with the Naked Podcaster. I'm your host, Jen Taylor, and today I'm doing a solo episode, and I'm not 100% sure at the beginning of this what the title is actually going to be. I'm going to address one main issue with probably 100 tangents. I have two articles and a Facebook post that I'm referring to, and they're on the monitor to the side. So I'm going to be referring to that. Also, in the show notes, I put in what the Facebook post is that I'm launching this topic from. And I also put links to the two articles that I am looking at and referencing. One thing about this conversation is that I don't want you to think I have answers. I do believe all answers are in the scriptures. Seeing the comments on this particular post made me realize something that my husband and I have discussions on quite a bit, which is that is left up to the interpretation of the person, whether or not a scripture is in context. I'm not saying whether things are or are not. That is for you to decide. I'm bringing this up because this is a topic that affects my life still and always. And I am going to be sharing some personal information on why I have a vantage point or an opinion on a specific part of it. That doesn't make it right or wrong, however. So I'm going to preface it by saying this. So on July 11th, 2021, Bryce Brewer, who is let me see, it might say in this article, he's a longtime youth pastor in Spokane Valley, Washington. He went on Facebook after a shopping trip with his fiancé and her 10-year-old daughter. What's interesting about this is that in the information that I read, and I have not spoken to, nor do I know Bryce Brewer. I was really happy when I read this post initially, not because I feel like he did a perfect job in posting his information, but because I feel like it's a subject that doesn't get discussed enough or openly enough. And wow, is it volatile. So Bryce has his own daughter who's 13, and why this particular incident with his 10-year-old soon-to-be stepdaughter made him realize this. I mean, maybe it was that last drop in the bucket, but he does have a 13-year-old daughter himself, and it's curious that through being married before or other conversations that he's had in his 20-year history of being a pastor, this topic wasn't discussed with him. For whatever reason, this particular event was the catalyst for this post. I did put it in the comments. I am going to read through it. I do also want you to know that, okay, I'm recording on August 10th, 2021. This is July 11th. So almost exactly a month ago. It has 39,000 comments. What's even more spectacular about this is that it has over 99,000 shares. And I was probably one of them, because when I saw this shared on someone else's page, it's a conversation that makes me a little frustrated and with no one specific personal answer. So let's jump in. He issues an apology and he says he's using humor. I didn't get, I mean, maybe he feels like some of this is his humor. I'll point out where I think maybe he used humor. I would have eliminated humor from this completely and just made the apology. He says he has been a youth pastor on and off for over 20 years and issued the ridiculous ultimatum to my female students at summer camp: one-piece swimsuits only. First of all, I am sorry. So I am 50 years old and I was going to a women's retreat, all women, here locally in Tahoe. And I signed up for this women's retreat. I wear a bikini most of the time, 99.9% of the time. I even have a specific sports bikini for when I did triathlons. I spent probably 6 weeks online and in stores between researching the most popular swimsuits and looking for them and finding what was rated as one of the top one-piece swimsuits for women. I don't find that they're comfortable. I have a long torso. They ride up. They feel too short. And I prefer bikinis. My preference for a bikini has nothing to do with sexuality or showing off my body. I have seen and tried on several one-piece swimsuits that showed almost as much. I mean, look, I think where you're at the point that you are on a beach in hot weather, wearing as little as possible to be comfortable, soaking up the sun, playing in the water. No matter what you wear, even a one piece, it's going to be skin tight and it's not going to leave much to the imagination. So because I prefer bikinis, I wear a bikini. But for whatever reason, I had it in my head that because I was going to a women's retreat, I somehow, for some reason, so that I wouldn't be judged by other women there, needed to buy some sort of one piece under the guise of being more modest, or I don't even know what. But I found myself way before this article was ever written, trying to figure out what I could wear at the beach. I'm a person who is not self-conscious, confident. I love my body. And I don't generally tend to care what people think. Even having said that, I found myself trying to find a one piece. And I did what probably a lot of us do. I think I bought 5. And I bought some of them online because whatever was rated highest, and I checked several articles, when the same swimsuits came up on several articles, I knew that was the one I wanted to buy. I don't like most of them. They do not fit. I find them uncomfortable. In the end, I bought one at Target that I liked more, and I brought it with me. And the day that we were spending the most time at the beach was a day that we went for a hike. A group of us took off on like a much bigger hike / run. I was wearing running shorts, sports bra, and a tank top. When we ran, we ended at the beach and I took my tank top off and I actually went in the water in my running shorts and my sports bra. After all of that stress about, am I going to be acceptable to the other women at the retreat by what I'm wearing? I accidentally, due to how things worked out, ended up in 2 pieces and not at all what I normally swim in. Anyway, I think we put a lot of stress as women on ourselves to be comfortable, one, with just our bodies in general, having high self-esteem, being confident, like feeling comfortable, putting something on and feeling like I love the way I look and feel wearing this. Like that's hard enough. To then put all of these invisible outside pressures on ourselves of what everyone else is going to think. I'm going to stick to the bathing suit now, but I know I am hoping to not forget to bring up in conversation that this happens to some degree every time I attend church also. So let's table that and move on. He says, number one, I'm sorry that I didn't teach boys to control themselves. Okay, there's another article that I quoted in here. He says he's issued the ridiculous ultimatum to my female students at summer camp, one piece swimsuits only. When he explains it, he says that when he went with his 10-year-old daughter, 10 years old. I mean, first of all, let me preface this by saying a 10-year-old child doesn't need to generally be concerned about being sexualized. So if a 10-year-old child is being sexualized, that one should not ever be an issue the 10-year-old has to address. And two, who are the sick people who are considering that that is the case? I was molested between the ages of 9 and 13, and never once in my life have I thought, wow, what did I do to encourage that? Because as a 9 to 13-year-old child who's just starting to develop breasts, I wasn't doing anything. I didn't even understand at those ages. And I know kids are growing up faster now, and some of this has changed. So that can be one point where someone could disagree with me, but never once was I doing anything or wearing anything, nor would anything, I could have been in a bikini at that point. There was nothing about me at 9 to 13 or my 11-year-old daughter, or I'm guessing his 10-year-old daughter, that should ever be seen as sexualized in the first place. So holy cow, that wasn't about me at the ages of 9 to 13 doing, saying, or wearing something. It was about the absolute dysfunction in the man who was sexualizing me. So that's one thing right there. And that does continue. So he says, I'm sorry I laid the weight of purity on a girl's swimsuit while she was swimming and not on the boy's responsibility not to be gross. I do think boys are not being gross. We were made to have physical and sexual responses that are totally normal and healthy. The boys aren't being gross necessarily. Let's keep moving on. I am sorry we have deemed a young woman's body as something that needs to be covered and let young men's bodies be okay to be seen. Understandably, men's breasts and women's breasts are not the same. So where a man can be without his shirt on, I would not recommend the same for a woman. Having said that, there's never been an issue. I have never heard personally a boy wearing shorts as a swimsuit that may be clingy, maybe the liner's not as solid as you would want, or they don't have a liner on in their swimsuit, or the shorts are shorter. Nothing's ever talked about how that boy or man is being sexual to try to get noticed. I mean, as girls, like, don't look at his penis, right? Like, it's a natural part of his body. He's wearing shorts and going swimming. So I do find it interesting that there's a double standard where boys are never asked to cover themselves up necessarily, and girls are. And this includes, I understand that girls' bathing suits are more, they show more. They're more tight and they show more. However, there is a double standard because a lot of it is on shoulders, stomachs, the belly button, and breasts or cleavage. And I have to tell you that I do not have huge boobs and my cleavage is relatively low. So I can wear a shirt that's a scoop neck. There's no cleavage showing. Where another woman who is larger busted or has higher cleavage, unless she's almost to her collarbones, you're going to see a split in her skin. I don't necessarily find that she's trying to be sexy or sexual or provocative because of the way her body is shaped. So I know I told you I was in a tangent and there's a lot to this and I don't have correct answers. I have a lot of opinions or thoughts on this. I do think that we have put all of the emphasis on the woman not showing her body instead of the men, like, Like, don't look. Like, seriously. I don't know if dudes think their penises are like stealthy, but I can't even tell you how many times it's possible if you look down to be able to see that. And that never gets talked about. But heaven forbid you see a belly button or notice the fact that a girl has boobs. And even if girls' bathing suits, where our daughter has one with long sleeves and that's short, and the second it's wet, I'm not sure if you know what happens, but it suctions to her body. So if you're swimming, I'm not sure it's possible to put yourself in a bubble where your body is not noticeable. Okay. He says, I'm sorry I ever let this be an item of discussion, usually led by men at any youth meeting. So some readers said he was varying from scripture. Others accused him of failing to celebrate modesty. Others took issue with the word gross for boys to characterize adolescent attraction. Look, his statement's not perfect, and neither is his. One thing that he did was he apologized for things in the past, which many people don't even make it that far. So kudos for him for, one, bringing up a very difficult subject to bring up, and two, admitting that he made mistakes. So let's just kind of take a moment to applaud the fact that he addressed it. And also, because he addressed it, it's initiated thousands and thousands of comments and like going on to 1 million shares. This is a topic that should be discussed more frequently or more openly, although let me tell you about opinions. So let's keep going. It's a contradictory message, and there's a lot of shame put on women based on how they dress. This article is so great. This is by Press Reader, or on Press Reader. There's a couple things that are brought up in this article. In the weeks since Brewer's post, Norway's beach handball players were fined for wearing shorts instead of bikini bottoms. Olivia Breen, a Paralympic world champion for Britain, meanwhile, was reprimanded for wearing competition bottoms an official deemed too revealing. So those are two competitive athletic sports that had completely conflicting messages. There's a few lessons in this. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter how you do it. It's going to be wrong. Are we all in junior high school? Like junior high school, the worst couple of years that any kid ever has to go through. If I could skip my kids through that, any 2 years of their lives, that would be 7th and 8th grade. Like, are we all there? Are we 12? Because this is stupid, right? No matter what, things are going to be wrong. Let's go back to junior high school. So you're going to be too tall, too short, too fat, too thin. Your boobs are too big or too small. You have too much of a booty or not enough. It doesn't matter who you are, what your size or shape is. Somebody's going to be a critic. And here we are, adults in professional sports, and they're still being criticized for what they're wearing. One, they should have been wearing bikini bottoms instead of shorts. And the other, the bikini bottom was too revealing. Like, you're not going to get it right no matter what you do. So let's first also remember that sometimes we're still in junior high school and you're never going to get it right. So this can be from leggings to an Olympic athlete. So the Facebook post, let me go back to that post. First of all, the other thing you need to realize is that no one, including pastors, have all of the answers. They don't. And even when reciting scripture, it can be taken out of context, be used incorrectly. And I have a personal experience with that too. So again, I'm not just spouting opinions that are random. I actually have experience with this. So I was part of a cult for 17 years that was very, very, very conservative in dress. And that was a way to take scriptures completely completely out of context and use the way you dressed for control, fear, guilt, and manipulation. And one thing about leaving that cult that I found with myself and a lot of other people is that one of the first things that all of us, I think, do, especially women, is take a freaking breath, not stress about having to conform to something that we don't even completely understand, that's based on fear, guilt, manipulation. And we wear something sleeveless because just let me breathe for a second and actually enjoy what I wear. So coming from a place that was really strict and used scriptures to force conservative dress, I know, because I've lived it, how possible it is to take that out of context. I'm not saying that modesty isn't a good thing or that there aren't scriptures there that can be taken in context. I am saying that this is a topic in my life that has been butchered. The scripture was butchered to make it mean something different than it was. Let me look through this a little bit more because I know I'm tangenting here, but pastors are not perfect. So another thing with Brewer is that in a couple of the articles, he states, I want to find it in this article also. It actually looks like it looks like the same article posted in different places. So Brewer's mother's a sexual assault survivor. I already mentioned that I was molested from the ages of 9 to 13. And also my first sexual experience, I lost my virginity to date rape. So when I talk about sexual assault and experience and feelings, I'm talking from my own personal experience, not what I think it would be like to go through that, which is much different. His mother's a sexual assault survivor, growing up in a home where he says we were very aware of issues that go along with rape and sexualization. It seems to me like it was an overwhelmingly positive experience for him. However, I feel like some of the trauma from his mom bled over into how he at least was ministering. And again, this is my opinion on what I'm reading. By asking girls to be modest so that they don't elicit sexual thoughts in the boys or the men, that if they cover themselves up, then they're not initiating, they're not forcing these boys to have these thoughts. And as a sexual assault survivor, for those of us who go through that and blame ourselves, and there are plenty of posts we've seen where it says, she was asking for it. And first of all, regardless what a woman wears or does, no woman is asking for sexual assault. They may be asking for an attention in a very inappropriate way. They may be feeding their self-esteem because they're insecure. They may be battling with confidence. There may be a lot of things to why women dress, but we're talking like provocatively. I'm not talking about wearing a normal swimsuit on a beach, one piece or not. It's not up to a woman to try to dress in a way that controls the thoughts of men. And that's where a lot of the pressure is put on using scriptures to make the woman feel bad about how she dresses, or in person talking to a woman, making her feel bad about how she dresses, because what she's doing is creating the problem. And I call BS on that. That doesn't mean I think it's okay to dress in a provocative way and flaunt yourself. I'm also not saying that, but there is a balance. And I'm sure with Brewer's mother, and I know in my situation, there was nothing that I did or I said or I wore that warranted sexual assault behavior from another human being. There's no excuse for sexual assault or rape. There's no excuse. It's a violent act. And there's never a woman who is, quote, asking for that. So I do feel like some of his girls can only wear one-piece suits, and the discussion behind his mother's sexual assault and how she's a survivor, potentially she felt in some way, his mother felt in some way that through expressing her trauma, I'm not sure how to phrase this, through expressing her trauma to him, maybe she felt like to some degree she was at fault to her sexual assault. That could be totally off base. Maybe he took her emotions and not wanting ever to put a woman in that position. He thought having a girl wear a one piece instead of a bikini would, I'm not sure why that's so connected in this article. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So he said he wanted to create a safe space and protect people, but sometimes in the attempt to protect people, we unintentionally hurt them, and body shaming is hurting. So again, this is one of those things where a narrative that women are responsible for men's behavior is what is being promoted. That is what's being promoted, the narrative that women are responsible for men's behavior. And that's the thing that really pisses me off in all of these conversations about what women should wear and making them feel ashamed of, one, their bodies, like they're not supposed to have breasts and a booty. They're not supposed to be attractive to the opposite sex because God created us and we're supposed to have sexual responses. We are also supposed to learn how to control those, but that's not what's being addressed here. It's just putting a girl down for her natural God-given body parts, that she has them, and that she's wearing something where we can see that she has them because we didn't know it otherwise. We had no idea she had boobs. The woman, the girl is not making the boy or the man think certain things and certainly not act on them. There's nothing a girl in a bikini is doing to force a man to react in general. Because again, I know that there are some women that are flaunting things around and being a tease and dressing extremely provocatively. I'm not even going to go into Adam and Eve and the original sin and passing the buck. I'm not going to feel like that. What he did say, let me go back to his post. I'm sorry I laid the weight of purity on a girl's swimsuit while she was swimming and not on the boy's responsibility not to be gross. Okay, gross may be the wrong word, but naturally thinking thoughts that boys are supposed to think that he isn't being taught how to control or process might be better. I'm sorry to all the girls that frantically searched for an appropriate one piece so that some male youth pastor could deem them appropriate. And then that's a story where he went to with his fiance for his 10-year-old daughters. We desperately looked for a cute one piece that would be appropriate for camp. It was hard and it sucked. Well, yeah, I just did it to myself during women's retreat. And I would like to get rid of, if anybody's looking for one piece bathing suits and you're a size 4 or 6, just hit me up and I'll be happy to send them your way. Because most of them don't even fit me right. I'm never going to wear them. And I wasted time and stress and money trying to get something that would have shown just as much of my body in the end, pretty much. I'm sorry that we have deemed a young woman's body as something that, quote, needs to be covered and let young men's bodies be okay to be seen. Different. Boys' swimsuits are baggier and they're shorts. So in the section of a boy's body that is sexual in nature, where his penis is, basically you are covering that up. You're doing a good job and it's baggy right up until it gets wet. I am sorry I'll ever let this be an item of discussion, usually led by men at any youth leader meeting. This must have been awful for my female leaders and students to be part of. And this is where I'm curious, like in this 20 plus years, there's no women leader that ever stood up and said something. There's no women leader that ever stuck up for herself, that ever had a conversation about modesty outside of a one-piece swimsuit. His 13-year-old daughter, this has never been an issue since she was around 10, which is the age of his stepdaughter when she was going to youth pastor. It's one of those things where I'm super glad that he posted this and figured it out at some point. I am also a little confused at why this didn't get addressed in some way before. And why is the onus to address this on women? What about all the men that were in the same meetings that never once said, hey, it shouldn't be the shame of a woman's body and her forcing boys to have thoughts, but teaching the boys to control them? Because I'm here to tell you, I've been a teenage girl and I had lots of lustful sexual thoughts myself. It's not just boys that have those. So learning what they are, recognizing them, learning to process them, filter them, and control them does go both ways. Anyway, I'm sorry to all the students, especially female, that we subjugated to our rules. I'm sorry to my female students as they desperately tried to search for a swimsuit in the days leading up to camp. I'm sorry if you felt sexualized by us telling you to cover up. Yes, there is something in that. Yes, as a matter of fact, I do feel somewhat sexualized by you telling me to cover up to a point. I'm sorry I didn't teach boys to be men and laid that responsibility on the young women. Female students, wear a swimsuit that lets you have fun. Male students, stop being disgusting and control yourself. Again, a boy's natural inclination to have sexual thoughts or desires is not disgusting and it's not gross. Neither is it for girls to have those exact same feelings. Learning to control yourself. I mean, teenagers tend to be dorky and silly and laughing and giggling and not understanding. And so teaching them some of that is probably a great idea, but that does go both ways. I mean, girls can be disgusting and boys can, you know, like I can't even tell you how many times I've seen the boys like mooning each other. All right, so maybe that's not something you should do at camp. I don't know. Anyway, all of this, I think, goes both ways. It's not just one and just the other. It's not women not showing their bodies and boys not thinking about it being disgusting and gross. I mean, there's so much more to it than that, but kudos that he brought this up for conversation. Youth pastors, especially males, stop being chauvinists and making female students feel bad for having breasts. Christians live like Jesus. So let me go through these articles a little bit more. Again, it does seem like it's the same article on two different places. I read a lot of articles about this. So the fact that I ended up choosing two that are identical is must have liked the article. He fed a narrative that women are responsible for men's behavior. And I think that is the single biggest thing, again, I want to highlight. And I do want to talk about that again. Let me go through this a little bit more. Young men should hear that attractive is a normal, healthy part of adolescence. There's no shame in it. It's what you do with the attraction. That's the important part. That you're only half of any intimate equation, and respect and enthusiastic consent need to be at the center of every encounter. So in the article, Heidi Stevens says that it's a roadmap. His post is a roadmap. It initiated the conversation, and we can put him down and build I mean, everybody's going to be a critic, right? Including myself. I love that he talked about the past and things he's done that he's not proud of. Give himself some grace as he fumbles through it. It would be interesting to bring up how the sexual assault of his mother played into all of this. And it's raising humans who are figuring out how to live with and relate to and lift up other humans, and we're all figuring that up. So where this happens continuously, and this is also like a super tough thing to discuss. I'm 5'8" to 9", and I have been a size 4 my entire life, and I can put on the same outfit, a jean mini skirt or a pair of leggings and a tank top, or a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, and it's going to look different on me than it looks on someone who is shorter than I am, heavier than I am. And women are definitely judged differently. It's a conversation that I have with my husband where, well, you're wearing something that could be seen as sexy, even if it's just a sleeveless shirt, or you're showing a little bit, your skirt is right above the knee. Okay, so a definition of being conservative is very, very individual, first of all. I mean, I think that there's a line we definitely know is not conservative, it's immodest, and what is definitely modest, but there's a lot of gray area in between. And if someone who's a different height or shape or size than I am can wear an outfit without having anybody say anything to her, but somebody says something to me or vice versa, then that's not as much about the outfit as it is about that person's body specifically. So if it's summer, it's 100 degrees out, and when we go to church, there's 100 women and 75 of those women are wearing a sleeveless shirt. And I don't feel like personally sleeveless shirts, like cut off tank top, are immodest or sexy, or that by you seeing this couple extra inches of my arm, it's going to send you over the end. The conversation that I try to have with my husband is like, you think it's sexy because you find me attractive. It's not necessarily sexy by the standards of people, or it is, but that's highly subjective. So what I wear to church, I have a lot more internal battle and conversations. So I'll give you a couple scenarios. If I were going on a vacation somewhere warm, I would bring the things that I am the most comfortable with, that I love wearing, that make me feel good, regardless of maybe how conservative they are. I'm thinking of a particular dress and a shirt that I have that are halter top, so my upper back shows. I wouldn't wear it to church anywhere. I mean, it's a little too casual and not appropriate. I wouldn't wear it to church, but I would wear it to go to Hot August Nights or the rib cook-off, or if I went somewhere else. I think we have different levels of clothing that are appropriate. I wouldn't wear my bathing suits to church either. So they're appropriate for different activities. And yet still, like, are my sandals that are black sandals that have a wedge heel and straps, where one person will think that they're cute, another person will think that they're sexy. And I can't get dressed based on wondering what the projection of other people's beliefs is going to be when I put something on. I want to dress appropriately for every single thing I do. But this is a topic of conversation. I have 12 girls out of 18 kids. I remember one of my girls getting a pair of thigh-high boots when she was 15 or 16 in high school, that she had to be 16. And she wanted to wear them. And when she put them on with pants, with a pair of jeans, they were cute. Yes, they could have been considered sexy. They weren't high heeled. There's nothing about them except they went up higher than her knee. When she put them on with a mini skirt, it was a different look. And I told her, you're not going out with a mini skirt and thigh-high boots. It sends a different message. It's so hard to navigate wanting women to feel good about their bodies, have good self-esteem and confidence, put clothes on that they look and feel good in, and not worry about the 300 other people that are going to church with you that day and what they're going to think, because this is subjective. I am initiating this conversation because I think, let's have a conversation about it. And let me tell you, if you go to Bryce Brewer's post, which I have linked in the description, and over 39,000 comments, there's like, I'm not going to get through about all of them. I think modesty is important, and self-control to men, self-control to women also. I mean, the comments are, women's bodies don't create sin, but you don't have to encourage it either. And then sexual attraction varies so much. We had this conversation with some of our kids the other day where one of our daughters like, yeah, I never liked boys that were really thin and in good shape. I liked them to be shorter with like a little bit of a belly, like, when they're a little chubby. Okay, well, if that's what you're attracted to, then it doesn't matter how many muscled men on the beach are having their shirt off and walking around. That's not the body style that you're attracted to. So subjective, so many opinions. The comments are crazy. And this is a podcast because from this, another situation happened with Elisa Child's podcast, and I didn't bring that up, but there was, and I like Elisa Childs and I like her podcast and I like that information. So there's a band that she has the one of the people in the band on frequently, and he had a song. It was a parody, but it was Modest is Hottest. And after this, and with so much criticism, he pulled that music video, and Elise Child came out and said, I mean, she's very, very, very much into being modest and didn't want that to be pulled. It's a conversation that needs to be had more. One person says, you're assigning sexuality to lumps of fat that grow on children's chests through no fault of their own and are not part of sexual reproduction, talking about breasts. But then also someone else says, you're forgetting that Christ literally told men to pluck out their eyes if they couldn't handle seeing women without giving into lust. So many like pendulums of opinions on this. So I would just encourage you. I verbally vomited opinions and speculation and thoughts and wanted to get conversations going on just the whole modesty and sexuality, and where does I think the responsibility lies on both women being more modest and men, like, maybe don't pluck your eyes out, but needing to understand that lust is something that we are supposed to have in control. I appreciate you listening, and I cannot wait for more conversation around this. Check out all of the links that I have listed. And as always, I love your feedback. Thank you for investing your time with me on At a Crossroads with the Naked Podcaster. I'm so glad that you joined our conversation. If you can take 2 minutes to share this episode with someone you think can benefit from it, or would have a positive impact on their life, that would be amazing. Go to the podcast page to sign up for the free membership site where all guest links are available. This podcast is designed to help you in your struggles. So reach out and let me know what you enjoy or what you would like to see more of. It will support me on the journey of causing a worldwide epidemic of healing, gratitude, and joy. Until next time, remember you are not alone in your struggle. Reach out to me on any platform. I love to connect. You are worth it to me. Have an amazing day.